I will now call to order the Clackamas County Library Service District Budget Committee. Will the members of the Library Board please introduce themselves? And we will start with Director Dan.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners, members of our Budget Committee. I'm Director Dan. Dan Johnson, Director.
Tammy Stemple, new member.
Alan Mateco, new member.
Make sure your mics are on or bring them close.
I wasn't on, now it's on.
Okay, thank you. I will now open the floor for nominations for chair.
I would like to nominate Alan Mateco as chair, please.
I will second that motion since we don't have another citizens member here today. Motion has been made by Tammy Stemple to nominate Alan Mateco. I'm sorry, Mateco.
Mateco.
As chair, seconded by Chair Smith. Any other nominations from the floor? Seeing none, Tony, please take the poll.
Susan Nielsen.
Here.
Commissioner West.
Here. Aye.
Aye.
Sorry.
Aye.
Marissa Ely.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Alan Mateco.
I will abstain.
Commissioner Shull.
Aye.
Tammy Stemple.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye. Motion passes 8-1-0. That means there are 9 members voting here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will now turn the gavel over to Chair Mateco.
Thank you very much. I will now open the floor for nominations for secretary.
I would like to nominate Marissa, I believe it's Ely, for secretary.
Second.
It's been nominated and second. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, nominations are closed. Clerk, could you please poll?
Tammy Stemple.
Aye.
Marissa Ely.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Susan Nielsen. Ms. Nielsen. Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Shull.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye.
Chair Mateco.
Aye.
Chair, the result is 7-0 with 1 member not voting.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
sorry, my connection dropped out. I also vote aye. This is Susan Nielsen.
Chair, the result is 9-0.
The vote is 9-0. Marissa has been elected secretary. Before Dan hits the budget message, I do want to thank a couple people. I want to thank the entire board. I also want to thank Gary, who's been a big advocate of libraries, and especially Commissioner Savas. Commissioner Savas attends all of our LDAC meetings, and the other night he gave a wonderful presentation on what the county is doing and things like that. So we do appreciate your support of the library, Gary in particular, and Commissioner Savas also in particular for their behind-the-scenes work to make things happen within our library community of 14 different libraries. Having said that, I'll now ask Dan, our director, to present the budget message.
Thank you so much. In the interest of time, we're going to go a little quick through this. I know you guys have had a long day so far, but just briefly, again, we're here to talk about the Library Service District budget. This is for fiscal year, obviously, 23-24. This is a district that we collect the dollars and they pass 100% of those dollars through, okay? So those dollars are collected based off the tax base and are then transferred out to our various service areas. This is basically due to a 2008 vote of the people for a permanent tax rate for the library districts to the tune of approximately 40 cents per thousand. It's about 39 and some change per thousand. We contribute those tax dollars to all participating service areas and or cities. Essentially, just to read those out, we have Oak Lodge and Gladstone Libraries, which are operated by the county. 12 other cities, meaning Canby, Estacada, Happy Valley, Lake Oswego, Milwaukee, Molalla, Oregon City, Sandy, Hoodland, Tualatin, Westland, and Wilsonville are where those dollars are distributed to. So there's no operating budget within this budget. We'll talk to those numbers here in a second. And there are no staff that are within this program as well. It's 100% transfer. Money comes in, money goes out. Next slide, please, Tony. Obviously, if you are in the role that we have with the distribution of this revenue, it's important for us to get that money out as quickly and as accurately as we can. You can see that through our major accomplishments. 100% of the revenue is basically doled out to the 14 libraries that are served. It's also important for us to make sure we're tracking population because it's part of that distribution model and the way those dollars are distributed. And last but not least, our finance group did some advanced modeling for revenues, which then allowed those libraries to plan for foreseen revenues for fiscal year 23-24, and allowed those library entities to develop budgets based off that revenue they expect to see. Next slide, please. There's two things I'm identifying here. You can see the total funds, $23.14 million approximately, and I'll read the total amount here in 1 second. Secondly, to draw your attention, percentage of restricted funds is 100% restricted. So again, we just collect it and pay it out. Next slide, Tony. As illustrated here, you're never going to see a pie chart so whole. There are a few pieces to this pie. Let's start with the revenue. Start with the revenue side. You're looking at 99.58%. That is just basically the tax revenue that we are collecting. The citizens of Clackamas County are paying it for the good service they receive from their libraries. There's a couple of smaller numbers there. Those smaller numbers are like interest, if there's some federal money out there that we can get, et cetera. But you can tell majority of revenue is coming from the tax base. On the expense side, it's 100% out the door. We don't take a cut of it. It basically comes in, dole it out. We pay it twice a year, basically January after the collection in November, and then we true the books up kind of at the end of the fiscal year, so it happens in June. Next slide, please, Tony. This is our budget. You can see the revenue there we're looking at from the collection of taxes is about $23 million. You see a beginning fund balance there, about $53,000, give or take. The numbers are pretty simple. You see a total revenue of $23,140,234. Then you see special payments going out the door in the tune of $23,140,234. So again, there's no internal operational component to it. We're just basically conveying those dollars. Next slide, Tony. And this is that information basically illustrated again, and also to inform you of the fact that there's absolutely zero general fund associated with this program, revenue in, revenue out. That completes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioners, do we have any questions or discussion?
Chair Mateko will lead this portion, Chair.
I can defer to you as well. You've had a long day. I certainly understand that. Not a problem at all.
Alan, I so
all right.
apologize for that.
No apology is necessary.
Just go for it, and I'll just like,
There's
So-
red ropes in the conference room to help.
is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do any of the members of the committee have any questions? Commissioner Sol.
Yes, Chair, on the distribution of funds is based on population. Is there ever any way to modify that distribution based on the need of a special situation? For example, the Hoodland Library, which is like an adjunct to the Sandy Library.
That is correct.
So is the population breakdown hardcore, that's it, with no potential modifications?
That is a great question. Unless boundaries change, and that would have to be through the board here, unless boundaries change, no, because when this was passed, 3-3-310, it was set in motion how this would be applied, and that would be percentage based on where the boundaries are. So unless the boundaries are changed by the board in conjunction with the cities, it wouldn't change. But it's a good point.
Okay, so Hoodland wants a better library, people better move up to Welch's right now, right?
You are correct.
Gotcha.
And that is
Okay,
correct.
there's your answer, Hoodland. Thank you.
Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, as simple as this ought to be, it's actually quite complicated. So the answer is, yes, it can, and there's an IGA with all the cities, so the cities have to agree to any changes in the boundaries. And so there's a possible potential, if the cities agree, to actually get engaged in that they have to be all engaged. If they choose to engage in that, then yes, but we can't initiate it on our own without their consent.
Yeah, exactly, okay, good.
As a side point, the board did a good job back in 2019 saying we're going to begin a process, a long-term process to look at the whole function of the libraries, to look at how money is distributed in terms of what Commissioner Savas was just talking, boundaries, the IGA. Unfortunately, when COVID hit, that long-term committee pretty much went out the window. And so now LDAC in our proceedings is looking at ways to maybe do a different set of circumstances to look at IGAs and other things. And we'll be coming back to the board, believe me, saying, here's some ideas we have for you in terms of looking at how libraries can use the best funds possible for the greatest good.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Teco, appreciate it.
Tammy?
I don't know if this is the right time to ask, but I've been told that there's some security issues at the libraries, and I wasn't sure if enhanced security is something that falls under the library budget, or does it just defer back to the correct law enforcement agency?
I'll take a shot at that. Essentially, these funds, that is a valid question and a valid point, and we are dealing with an increase in incidents at some libraries. I shouldn't joke about this, but I talk with Mitzi. Mitzi's a direct report to me right now, while Sarah's gone, Mitzi Olson, and I share with her the fact that you came into this business to be a librarian, and sometimes you're being a bouncer, and I'm sorry for that. It's a very difficult position to be in. She runs our Gladstone and Oak Lodge libraries, and so she's having to deal with individuals with various states of mental health, et cetera, or mental concerns. And so the question's a valid one. We're not dictating, though, how those dollars are spent by those service areas with this budget. It doesn't come with any strings. It basically is pushed out, and they make the decision, those entities make the decision based off the cooperative agreement about how to use those dollars.
Any other questions? Oh, Commissioner West.
Thank you. So I just want to pause on this for a minute, because the brand new information for me that we're having security issues in our library. No, it's not bad, because I guess I want to make sure that if we are unfortunately having security issues in our public spaces because of untreated and undealt with and unmanaged mental health or addiction issues in our community, the library is not equipped to be the catch-all for that at all. And some family or student or reader that needs to get access to those public services should not have to intersect with that. So do we have the resources? Do we need to allocate resources to make sure our libraries are safe? Like, I'm just like, it just makes me want to make sure that we don't gloss over it, but do we need, where are we at with this? Do we need to consider these possible expenses or not?
So thank you for the question. Right now, we have procedures in place, and we are tracking that. And I know that with the new design, safety, and security, I'm speaking to Oak Lodge and Gladstone, which is not associated with this budget, making sure we're clear.
Okay.
But that design, those design elements associated with those two facilities are taking safety and security into consideration as well. I have authorized Mitzi with all authority in the world. If she gets in a set of circumstances, then she feels that she needs to for the safety of either staff or the patrons, she has all ability in the world to close that facility down and lock it down. We've had very detailed, very specific discussions around that. And she's having good response as she's worked with law enforcement as well. Obviously, you've got the city of Gladstone that are good partners with their police force, the Gladstone Library, and you also have Clackamas County Sheriff's Office, which is responding to the Oak Lodge.
Do we need on-site security?
As of right now, I do not believe that to be the case, but we are tracking it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Tammy, I was going to say, Commissioner West, most cities work with their city managers to make sure that a portion of the money that goes into them also helps to cover security and with their local law enforcement. For instance, Happy Valley, there is money that the library uses to help fund the police, not directly, but to say if there's an incident, they will show up. Because we have had an incident several years ago in Happy Valley, unfortunately, and the individual was apprehended. But it does give pause to the library directors to say, how do we do that? Do we put safety buttons in there? Do we have a lockdown and things like that? And yes, unfortunately, in this day and age, they do have procedures, whether we like it or not. It's a fact of life.
I'm sorry for my ignorance. I didn't expect to hear that today.
It's an unfortunate event. It's a public space, and they receive all and anyone who wants to participate in those spaces, and sometimes those individuals are having troubles that day and dealing with what they're facing, and unfortunately, it does occur.
Thank you.
Other questions, thoughts? Okay. We'll now open up to the public hearing. Is there anybody present who would like to make a comment on our library budget proposal? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. No? Okay. Anybody on Zoom call wishing to make a comment?
If you would like to testify on the Library Service District budget, please use the raise hand feature, and I will call on you in the order received. Mr. Chair, I do not have any hands raised at this time.
Okay. I will ask the clerk to moderate the public testimony, and that's already been done. Tony? We've already gone through pre-registered. Seeing no one else, I will close the public hearing. Do any members of the committee have any questions or discussions at this time? Hearing no further questions, I will now entertain a motion on the budget.
I move that the Clackamas County Library Service District Budget Committee approve the FY 23-24 budget in the amount of $23,140,234 presented and impose the district's maximum permanent tax rate of $0.3974 per $1,000 of assessed value within district boundaries.
Motion has been seconded. All in favor? Good. Clerk, will you take a call? Roll.
Ms. Ely?
Aye.
Commissioner Schull?
Aye.
Ms. Nielsen?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader? Aye. Ms. Stemple?
Aye.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Chair Smith?
Aye.
Chair Mateko?
Aye.
Chair, the result is 9-0.
The vote is 9-0, and the motion passes. Is there any further business before this committee?
Chair?
Yes, Commissioner
I
Savas.
just want to say, let my colleagues know, especially and those watching, I want to thank you, sir, for your role as chair of LDAC, doing a great job and a great job here today, but I want to just thank you for your service. You are a true leader, so thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And once again, thank you to the board and to Gary for their continued support of our library network throughout the Clackamas County. Hearing none? No other comments, considerations, concerns?
Alan, you're an excellent chair. You can come back anytime.
Well, thank you very much. Hearing none, this committee is adjourned.